All right, I think this hangout on air is live, and hopefully the sound is good. And welcome again to the pre-moment before we actually start the Money Lab live broadcast. Let me go ahead and adjust this a little bit just to make sure we're not just blasting people's ears out. Okay, cool, awesome. So hang on tight for a little bit while I go ahead and start the actual show on the Spreaker.com so that we can actually record this on an audio only, as well as being here on YouTube Live. So, welcome everybody. Let me go ahead and get this going right here. All right, welcome to the Money Lab live podcast, episode number 38. Conflicts in your brand will choke your money and income. All right, welcome back to another live broadcast of the Money Lab podcast. I'm your host, Wei Hong from the Six Figure Academy. Now, this is the podcast where we give you tips, strategies, and interviews with other entrepreneurs or just, with me on how to re-engineer bad money stories and habits so that you can create a prosperous and abundant lifestyle free of financial stress and worry. Now, if you are joining us live today, make sure you get on Spreaker.com or download the Spreaker app, search for the hashtag the Money Lab, and so that you can join us in the chat room and ask questions and interact with us. Now, while you're there, subscribe so that you don't miss an episode and can catch us every single week. For all other ways to find us, go to the sixfigureacademy.com/radio for all the details. And if you're not on Spreaker.com and you are on YouTube Live Hangouts, then hello, you have access to the camera. You can actually see me doing this. So you can see this is not a pre-recorded. It's live, and you can see how I come up with all these different things or not. Okay, so anyway, welcome to the show. Welcome. Let me go ahead and switch over because today's an interesting thing. Today's topic was inspired by for those of you who do follow me on Facebook, was inspired by one of my Facebook Live broadcasts last Friday when I was talking about, how whether or not who you are matches or if what the success that you want to achieve is matched by your how you show up, what you reflect, how you show up in every single day. And I was giving a lot of thought over the weekend, especially about talking about today's show. And I realized something, that this is something that's, very, very important and supremely relevant when it comes to being an entrepreneur and being consistent. And it's more than just about yourself. And at the same time, it has a lot to do with yourself. Okay. Now, that statement in alone might be a little bit confusing, but that's okay. We're going to go deep into that. We're going to go deep into that whole process. This was inspired by this past weekend. We just had, in my other company, the Human Op Technologies, where we just actually had our level 1 practitioner intensive training, the first of many that's going to be coming up, and where we were helping people kind of understand the deeper pieces of technology, how to extract the natural operating system for human. We have a patented human assessment technology that allows us to be able to truly extract the understand people's natural human potential, give you an operating manual, if you will. And so while we were going through there, this really came to mind when I was thinking about, for entrepreneurs, one of the biggest challenges is, well, first and foremost, how do you communicate what it is that you're here to do? What is it that you want to do as your product or service? Because you can have the best product, best service in the world, but if you have no idea how to communicate, aka marketing, if you don't know how to communicate this to the masses, to the people that you are here to help and serve, then it's pointless. Then nobody will know about your product. Nobody will know about your service, right? Now, this is going to be a really cool topic. And for those of you who are listening on the Spreaker app or the Spreaker.com, there is a chat module available. So Feel free to chime in anytime, ask a question, think about your business, because really this is what it's all about. Take advantage of the fact that these are a lot of the concepts that I do with a lot of my multi-million dollar clients and students and everything to help them kind of, increase and stop choking their money flow. And today we're talking about things that we are potentially doing to choke our money flow, to choke our income. I went to Inc. .com and Inc. magazine, which is, I perused through those different types of entrepreneur type of media right there. And I was curious about what they were saying about brand, right? And so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the importance of creating brand consistency in your business, but I'm also going to bridge the importance of understanding that and how that applies to your own personal brand. Your own personal brand is just as important as your business's brand, especially as an entrepreneur. Because if you're the entrepreneur, your very essence of your being is embedded within your business. Okay. And if you yourself aren't reflecting the brand that you've created for your business, that alone, in the world that we live in today, driven by social media, driven by social proof, is going to create an unconscious dichotomy or a conflict within your audience's mind, which will literally prevent them from buying. Okay, so this is a really important topic that we're going to talk about today. Makes a huge difference and can explain for some of you out there who are struggling with your business, struggling to create consistent income. This could be the linchpin that unlocks all of that and allows you to step away and stop having those inconsistencies in the income that you're making. Okay, so let's go for more strategy. What anybody can Google about and think about, and then we'll talk about how that relates to you as as an entrepreneur. Okay, so this article is, I don't even know what it's called. If you want to make 23% more money, then get consistent. I don't know where that number came from, but Tracy Lee has it from Has Design. She's the CEO. She wrote about this. From the experts, everything you need to know about branding consistency for higher visibility, more revenue. Now, this article is pretty lengthy. Well, it's not that lengthy, but it's got some really cool, straight to the point type of topics. But it starts off talking about how much is brand consistency worth. And, for people who own businesses, she basically says this might not be a question you find yourself asking often, especially if you're a solopreneur or if you're the CEO, you're wearing multiple hats, you're constantly think about all aspects of your business. And, me included, I'm just as guilty. Oftentimes, if it weren't for my creative director and the people who are responsible for maintaining our brand, I wouldn't be thinking about it all the time. But it's really important that somebody is thinking about it and making sure that your brand is consistent. Now, when it comes to your personal brand, that's all on you. Okay. Unless you have a personal branding specialist that is constantly making sure that your day to day activities, and that's fine too. I have people that kind of help me with that too. So even though we spend a tremendous amount of time discussing branding, plenty of companies go forth into that dark night and move forward with their branding plans without ever measuring the growth benefits and possible setbacks. So she goes through this thing, drops a couple of seeds on how she could potentially. Um, they said here, Lucid Press, in partnership with Demand Metric, surveyed over 200 organizations to better understand the impact and value of brand consistency. So this again, I'm starting with what everybody's familiar with. If you were to Google about brand consistency, this is the kind of stuff that you will find. And what I'll do, like I said, we're going to bridge that gap and say, well, what does that have to do? How do we truly make that work for us individually as entrepreneurs? Okay. Citing the study, which says less than 10% report that their brand presentation is very consistent, but almost 90% agree that it is important to present their brands consistently in all the places people might encounter them. We can see how true it is that plenty of companies are not clear on branding. For a company like Lucid Press, who says they are big believers in using branding to drive growth, the study revealed some new insights and confirmed plenty more. And the overall understanding. So here's a couple of the biggest takeaways. Okay, so let's skip forward to that. Here's a couple of big insights for organizations with brand consistency issues. Okay, so I want you to take a moment to just think about this as it relates to your business or your brand. If you're like an individual, if your brand is your business, then think about yourself. Okay, the estimated average revenue increase attributed to always presenting the brand consistency they found across the board is 23%. I guess this is where they got that number. It's actually backed with some statistical study, I guess, over 200 organizations. Study participants whose brands are consistently presented are 3 to 4 times more likely to enjoy excellent brand visibility than those with inconsistent brand presentations. Okay. What this is saying, okay, that your audience, okay, are 3 to 4 times. What does that mean? 300 to 400% multiplied to whatever they're doing right now, more likely to enjoy your brand, your business, your services and products than if you were inconsistent with your brand presentation. Okay. As an example, if one day I go out, I talk about money anxiety, I'm talking about money in my networking. And the next time I go to that same networking meeting, I go and talk about relationships. And then the next time I go to the meeting, and then I talk about health and fitness because I used to be a personal trainer back in the day. And I talk about all these different things that I'm capable of doing. It confuses the people. Trust me, I've done this and I've seen the results. And the difference is when people know me or the Six Figure Academy as, an organization that specializes in helping entrepreneurs in the areas of money, money anxiety, stress, financial worry, and growing their business from that point, it makes it so much easier for people to hang their hat on and say, I know what this company does. I know what this company's all. I know what Way does. I know what that's all about. Okay. Now, once they get in the door, they know that there's a whole slew of all of our coaches, all the products and programs that we do more than just about the money. We talk about other things such as, your personal, which we're going to talk about, your personal brand, how you show up, the balance and harmonious way you live, how well you're taking care of yourself. But it isn't until they get inside that they can then it makes sense to explain all of that. But if you lead with that, that creates a little branding consistency. Hopefully that makes sense. So another point says 95% of organizations have branding guidelines. Cool. But only a quarter of them have formal guidelines that are consistently enforced. In this particular, I can totally relate. I am just as guilty for this one because we've had, a brand manifesto, a mood board, and every time I go back, I find myself finding things like, "Oops, I should have been doing that. Oops, I didn't do that." So by me not consistently going back. Now, granted, it's not my job to be doing that. We have checks and balances and pay people to kind of make sure and reference that to make sure, yes, this can go out. No, this can't go out. But it's really important to understand that even though if you have one, if you don't have a formal set of guidelines and strategies on how to enforce your brand, then it's pointless. Like I said, like it says, 23% of your income is basically lost. Okay. Let's see here. Over 60% of organizations report that materials are always, often, or sometimes created that don't conform to guidelines. So I guess this kind of links to the last one, which talks about formal guidelines that aren't consistently enforced. Then that results in over 60% of organizations reporting that materials are always, often, or sometimes created that don't conform to brand guidelines. And it's really easy to do. I mean, it could be as simple as a meme, okay, on a social media post. It could be as simple as, showing up to an event and dressing in the wrong colors. If you're trying to go there to present your brand, if you do have like a uniform or something like that. all kinds of interesting things, or making last minute like flyers, and the color scheme is completely different from what your brand represents. Okay, that all makes a difference. And here's the big eye opener. They said, okay, the greatest negative impact of inconsistent brand usage is the creation of confusion in the market, which is reported by 71% of the study participants. That means your audience. Okay. So it talks about a solution and everything, but today we're not talking about how to create a business brand solution, because again, you can find that anywhere. What I want to talk about today is that these particular statistics are just as important for your own personal brand. Okay, your own personal brand is just as important as an entrepreneur, it's a little bit different than if you're working for another company. As an entrepreneur, here's your responsibility. Your business has great potential, great possibilities to make some serious impact with your audience. Okay. And like they always say, with great, impact or power comes great responsibility. When you took on the role as an entrepreneur, you also made a commitment that you would to be successful, you need to create a consistency in how you show up in the world, not just in your business, but in your own life. Okay. Entrepreneurship, to be successful, is pretty much a lifestyle commitment. If you're not willing to commit to have your own personal brand, to live your life in accordance to, or at least pretty close to, the missions and the vision and the value of the business that you created, then don't do it, because it will impact your income. It will create struggle in your life. Think about it for a moment. You have your business that you're standing behind, and you go out and you're representing, you're promoting, you're talking about, and it's supposedly your passion. Okay. And then in your off hours, on your own personal time, it is a complete dichotomy. What you yourself will be doing, you'll be struggling with living a duality in your life, where your business represents one aspect and your personal time represents another. Okay. What I mean by that is, if your business, okay, is all about integrity, is all about honesty, is all about transparency, yet in your own life, you lie all the time, you cheat all the time, you don't follow those similar type of rules, sooner or later, that dichotomy is going to catch up. You can tell when someone's lying to you and when someone's not. You can tell there's a shift in there, there's a change in all that. What makes you think that if you are, I mean, that's a little bit extreme. I'm not saying that, if integrity, there's other values too. Okay. But what happens if in one moment that you're standing there in front of somebody talking about your business, but you yourself know that you don't necessarily live by that? What do you think the audience is going to feel? How much more energy is it going to take for you to do that balancing act between this version of you in your business and this version of you in your personal life? Okay. And this is why a lot of entrepreneurs create businesses based out of to support the lifestyle that they want. If you want to be, say, an artist, then you make a business around being an artist. Okay. If you are, all about, supporting, not having to speak to big audiences and everything, and in your spare time, you love just being kind of reclusive in your space, but you love that create and that thing, that is what drives you. Why force yourself to do something that's not naturally you? Why create a business, for example, that forces you to go out there and speak every single day, when you yourself personally don't even want to do that? Okay, so that's just one example. So, what I want to talk about today is that conflict between the brand. Not only if there's a conflict in your business itself, but if there's a conflict between yourself, your personal brand, and your business's brand, you will choke the money flow. You will create money anxiety. You will create a a challenge in your business, a financial circumstance that makes it really, really difficult for you to make money. Okay. And what I mean by difficult is that it is going to take energy from you, more energy than normal. Okay. To be able to maintain both your life and your business. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So let's see what they say about how to fix, for those of you who find the strategy part of normal branding interesting. Let me go ahead and talk about this is that your and this and if you hear what I'm about to read here, it absolutely relates to your own personal representation as well. Okay. It says here, find the state of knowing. Okay. So your brand is your story, your connection, the truth you weave into the fabric of who your company is, what it believes in, and how it creates something different for its people. If you simply swap out company, you know, it totally applies to you as an entrepreneur from your own personal brand. Without consistent branding, you might still believe in the same things and be living the same story, but how will anyone know? So here's another thing. Let's say there isn't a conflict, okay? But then that actually doesn't support what I'm talking about today. So that's a whole different story in itself. Let's just stay with this conflict thing, okay? Um, so if done correctly, your consistency will create a state of knowing for your clients. Now, when you read the book, and if you haven't read it, when you read the book, um, uh, the Referral Engine by John Jantsch, okay, he talks about why people refer, okay, why people recommend things, okay. And as a solopreneur entrepreneur, unless you're a big brand like Coke or Nike or something like that, okay, you are going to have to be your best ambassador for your business and for your brand, okay. So what it talks about in that book is in the Referral Engine is that if you are going to expect to get referrals and you want repeat business or business that keeps referring back or people who are ecstatic and happy, you have to be consistent with your brand so that people know. Okay. You know, we do good work here. And years ago, when I was doing just coaching in general and didn't even really have a specific focus, it was like we do everything type of thing. And people experienced it, they loved it, and there was one time I overheard a conversation. Someone was trying fervently trying to refer business to our company, and because we weren't clear with our brand, they couldn't really describe it. It was like, what is this company like? What is Wade like? And it's like, it's so hard to explain. They do so many different things. You just have to go see them. You just have to go talk, which isn't this, even though they were excited and the person said, okay, well, are they here? And yeah, eventually we got a chance to talk to them. But if we weren't there, okay, how motivate? Just think about if you were in that position and you're talking about something that someone experienced at another company and all they could say is, it's just amazing. I can't really articulate what it is that they do specifically. You just have to experience it. How motivated would you be hearing that say, oh, okay, and let me jump on it and make a schedule appointment right now? If you have no idea what you're scheduling an appointment for, you just know you had to go because somebody was so excited about it. Now, there are people who will say, wow, I'm so excited. I can totally get it. But what if you're a little bit more intellectually saying things have to make sense before you have to be able to answer that question, why? Okay. This is why it's so important to be consistent with the brand. Now, if they meet you and your brand, how you show up is different than what your company does in terms of what your company's brand is, that will also be a stopping block from people to take the next step to, meet with you later or talk with you later. Okay. Or maybe they got a taste of the company, they're excited, then they meet you and then they realize there's an inconsistency there because there's something going on. You're not taking care of self and you're not being consistent with your values and the values of your company or your business. And that'll stop them from making a decision to move forward. Okay. So, if done correctly, your consistency will create a state of knowing for your clients on a deep, unconscious level, on a level that consciously just bypasses all the conscious gatekeepers that typically will stop people from saying yes. And what they'll do is, meaning they will know your story, they will believe in your story, and they'll even retell your story. See, this is what I was talking about for you. That's how clear and consistent it is. You've told them the story of your brand in such a way that there is no question. And part of that story is not just what comes out of your mouth, but how you yourself show up. Are you doing proper self care? Are you taking care of yourself? There was a guy I remember years ago, and he's much better. I'm so happy because years ago he was talking about wellness. He was talking about a lifestyle. He's talking about creating happiness and health and vitality in your life. And then he looked like he was on the verge of having a heart attack. His breathing was later. He was severely overweight, and every time he showed up at a business meeting, he was sweating, wiping sweat off, like we were worried about him. And it's been years since I've seen him, and I think it was just a few months ago I saw him, and he was a totally different person. He finally became a better representation or ambassador for what he's trying to do. I heard his content was great. I heard his business had a great service and a great model. He himself was not consistent to that, and so he struggled. And it wasn't until he took the time to align and align himself with what he created in his business, but align his own personal being to represent what it is that he created. It wasn't until then that I suspect his business is much, much better right now. Why? Because looked like he had to get a whole new wardrobe, and his energy level was up, and he was so much more in alignment with what he was talking about. Okay. So it's not like it's impossible. You just have to pay attention. Okay. What I talked about last week was whether or not your energy levels, your mental chatter or the mindset, your emotional levels, and your physical body reflected the success that you wanted to achieve. And this is very much in alignment with what I'm talking about today with your brand. Okay. If for example I'm talking to helping people achieve multi-million dollar status, but more importantly a multi-million dollar lifestyle free of anxiety around money and stress and worry. Okay. But every day I show up and I'm like complaining about money, or every day I show up, I'm dressed like a slob. Okay. And unfortunately, yes, we still live in a world where people kind of do that. And for me anyway, I personally, for me, it energizes me to have a higher level of refinement. And that's a whole different discussion together that we can help people identify. But this is the kind of stuff that we need to pay attention to as an entrepreneur, especially now in a socially driven world. Okay. Social economy that we live in, it is so important that there is consistency in both your business brand and your personal brand, because the conflict will, in the worst case scenario, burn you out and shut your business down. Okay. So truly think about this, that if you are having any kind of financial struggles, or more often it's financial inconsistency in your business, it's probably a function of some inconsistencies, some cracks in in your brand. And if your business brand is airtight and there's still challenges, that you might want to see if you yourself are a good representative and ambassador for your brand. Are you living to the standard that you want people to feel or understand from the brand of your business? Okay. So it says, as you told them the story of your brand in such a way that there is no question, it feels whole. It feels whole. And this should be your ultimate branding goal: total clarity and a state of knowing. Total clarity and a state of knowing. Now, here's the challenge. Sometimes we as entrepreneurs can achieve that because we ourselves don't have total clarity. We're ourselves are not in a state of knowing. We think this is how we should brand our business. We think this is how our business should go. And what I'm really excited about this new company that we've launched called Human Up is that we actually have a science-based tool to help people realize that, to get that level of clarity, to get to that state of knowing faster without having to spend an entire lifetime to get there. So having seen this happen firsthand so quickly now, okay, I can honestly say when you have that level of clarity, that level of knowing in your business and you apply it and you align it, okay, and then you convey that to your audience consistently, okay, I can see how numbers like this, 23% increase, but I would say as much as 50% if you really kind of fine tune and put some, elbow grease into it and really kind of pay attention to it and be consistent with it. Okay. So really the conflict is not, I mean, conflict in your brand is obvious, but the conflict that is not so obvious is the conflict between your own personal self, your energy levels, your mindset, the chatter that's in your mind. It's kind of like how affirmations don't work for a lot of people because if you still have a lot of negative chatter, when the affirmation is being hammered into there and the unconscious mind goes, I know you're lying to me because that's not what you really think. Think about that. How many times have you had an affirmation come in and part of you goes, yeah, but that's not how I really think. I don't really believe that. And then what we do is we're told then we have to kind of say it every single day and hammer it in. But what it is, it's like bludgeoning your unconscious to some unconscious mind to submission. A much faster way, and what we found that works so much better, so that affirmation just go boom right in as soon as you introduce it, is one, when you introduce an affirmation and a part of you raise the flag that now I don't believe that, then we address that. Find out why that is actually coming up. And we resolve that before you reintroduce the affirmation again, before you start bludgeoning it back into your unconscious mind, because it's not going to work. What it's akin to just basically taking that old mindset that the affirmation is supposed to fix and forcing it under the rug and pretending, okay? Because here, we're not stupid people. Our unconscious mind is not a stupid part of our being. We know when we're lying to ourselves. And not everybody is willing to live a life like Don Quixote. We're not willing to just lie to ourselves, just live a life because, yeah, I mean, but let's say it does work. Let's say you keep bludgeoning it, but that takes a long time. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to get results quicker. Okay. So here's for those of you who want the solution from the branding standpoint. Here's what she talks about here is create a brand strategy for both the long and short term, create guidelines that will ensure the implementation of the strategy, and consistently enforcing these guidelines to avoid confusion. Okay. When formal guidelines that Lucid Press found out in their study, and they said when formal guidelines exist that are enforced, the firms that have them are more than twice as likely to also see a consistent presentation of their brand. Twice as likely seems great odds to me. Okay. Who would be in charge of that in the business standpoint? Even a virtual CMO. In our world, it's our creative director. Pretty much anybody that has anything to do to help put out stuff to the public or to your audience. It could be it pretty much is everybody. And if you want to be consistent across the board, everybody in your organization should have a copy of what the brand strategies are, okay, or what the mission and the vision and the colors and the style and the attitude and the values. Everybody in the organization, no matter how big or small, down to if you have an in-house janitorial service that cleans the buildings, they should know as well. The receptionist at the front desk should know as well. Whoever creates your PBX system in terms of the voicemail, they should also convey that and understand that as well. Okay, really, really, really important. Okay, now going back to you, who then should be responsible for your own personal brand? It's kind of obvious, right? You are. Okay. And how often should you check in with yourself? As an entrepreneur, if you're not checking in at least once a day, kind of saying, making sure that you are living your brand, you're being consistent. And if there's something comes up that you find yourself, there's a little bit of conflict, at least you have a plan to implement to remedy that, to align yourself more accurately. Okay. So, really, really important. Now, I know this week is Thanksgiving week for those of us living in the States. For those, hey, Gabby, so true, right? And for those of us not living in the States, well, might as well use our vacation to have a to have a vacation. So it's a short week, and I think for today's topic, if I go any more, then it has I'll run into the potential challenge of having having gone too much and kind of have this information overload. What I think this would be my challenge for those of you who have taken this to heart and if they see this as your business is, take a moment and maybe write out what you think your brand is for your business, what you think your own personal brand is, and see if that's an alignment. Okay. One of the easiest ways to get back into alignment is that's why personal development, personal growth, getting yourself to kind of get yourself into alignment. And that'll easily help you see if there are inconsistency or incongruency in your business brand. Because what if all of a sudden you get yourself in alignment and you look at your business and you realize, I don't even believe that in my business? Then maybe you can restructure, rebrand your business to make it more in alignment. The more in sync you are with your business, the more effortless your success in running your business becomes. It doesn't become a drain. It doesn't run the risk of burning you out because then your business is simply an extension of a natural strength of you. Now, if you find yourself really stuck with that, one of the reasons why we do what we do is so give people opportunity that we are a resource. We can help people find that place sooner than later. I mean, we've been able to take 10, 20 years worth of personal development, personal growth, personal alignment, creating congruency, and bring it down to just 10 minutes. Yeah, we have a 10-minute piece of technology that can help people do that accurately. And it's not subjective so that it's based on someone else's opinion. It is based on science. It's based on you to help validate, yes, first and foremost, that there's nobody like you. You're just as unique as your fingerprint, and that you have access to potentials and a combination of potentials that nobody else does. And if we tap into those right strategies and create that unique and perfect brand that is you, and then we align it with your business, all of a sudden your financial challenges, your anxiety around money become a thing of the past because it becomes less draining to you to just simply be able to move your business forward day in and day out. Cool. Cool. So if you want more information about that, feel free to reach out. You can reach out directly to, well, just go to info at the6figureacademy.com. That's THE, the number six, figureacademy.com. One of the best ways, though, you probably have all that information if you already have my free digital book, the download, which is From Money Anxiety to Six Figure Mastery. And if you haven't gotten that yet, what are you waiting for? That's our tagline at the Six Figure Academy. There's no time like the present, right? You go to go, http://go dot thesixfigureacademy.com. And from there, it's pretty straightforward. It'll take you through this whole process where you give your name and email, and then we'll just send you the free digital copy right into your email box. Cool. All right. So let's see here. What do we have here? Gabby, thanks for the great info. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your team. Blessings, health, and same to you, Gabby, to you and your family. Congrats on all the great things you've been able to achieve and do this year so far. I've been hearing some cool stuff. Can't wait to catch up with you and hear more. Other than that, for the rest of you, thank you so much for being here on the show. Feel free again to leave your comments and questions. Our team is constantly monitoring these things. So if anything comes up, we'll respond fairly quickly. Usually it's within 12 to 24 hours. So I get it. Sometimes, it's not convenient to just say, stop. Maybe you're listening to us while you're driving. But yeah, reach out. Don't be strangers. Introduce yourself. Would love to get to know each and every single one of you better. Other than that, have an amazing holiday Thanksgiving this week. Eat lots, sleep lots, enjoy lots, but more importantly, enjoy the time with family and friends and really start to calibrate on how you want to wrap up this year when it comes to money in your business and how you want and what goals to start thinking about you want to achieve next year and how we could potentially support you in that with the show or with all the stuff that we put out there. Cool. Awesome. All right. This has been another episode of The Money Lab. And yes, we may be just kind of unifying and creating more consistency in our brand as well, because we are probably going to bring it back to making it the Six Figure Academy podcast show, because that's the name of our company, right? Speaking of brand. All right. Have an amazing week. I will catch you guys all next week. All right. Take care. All right. So for those of you in the YouTube live, we're going to be wrapping up. And let me stop this. And if you're in YouTube, probably not, because I haven't seen any of you. So we'll catch you next time. All right.